Good evening and welcome to The Right Side, the show where we normally talk about today's views, news, trends, and opinions from an admittedly conservative perspective. But tonight we're going to do something different in the era of equality of voice and opinions. I am your host, Chris Pareja, and this evening I'm joined by James Farley as well as Kevin McGary. One Democrat, one Republican, all of us depressed because we're going to be talking about this year's election. And normally we don't name the shows by episode, but if it was tonight that we were going to name an episode, it would be, nah, I didn't get the candidate I wanted, but hell no, I'm not voting for your candidate either. Gentlemen, welcome to the show and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're going to use this for group therapy. There will be, it's going to be hopefully peaceful. It will be free range. Yeah. No hair pulling, no hitting below the pantsuit belt line or anything like that. But guys, this is kind of an interesting election cycle, right? Crazy, right? A lot of people are saying, I don't know who I'm going to vote for. Am I going to show up? But you guys have braved the Bay Area traffic and the courage of sitting in front of camera and helping us to try to figure out what's going on here. And so we'll start with James. You've been a political activist for quite some time. Tell us a little bit about your history and the things that you've done there and who you would have voted for if you could have chosen earlier in the cycle.
Well, I've been a field rep. I've done campaign finance for Ed Lee in San Francisco. I've done electoral college, and I've served as campaign manager for a campaign in Livermore School Board, which my candidate won. So I've done all aspects of campaign life. So, yeah. And was really for Bernie Sanders because, you know, I felt he didn't have the lobbyist ties, and I was trying to find somebody from outside that wasn't part of the political gamut because, you know, I think lobbyists are entrenched in Washington, D.C., and we need to change the whole aspect of government in Washington.
Mm-hmm. And would you say you lean Democrat when it comes to voting?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just to clarify that we are, trying to bring everybody together in group therapy. Kevin, tell us a little bit about your activism background and who you would have chosen if you had earlier in the cycle to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm the president and chairman of the Frederick Foundation of California. And I would have, so essentially what we do is we try to educate communities, especially communities of color, on accurate history and bring in, stalwarts like Douglas and Lincoln to talk about conservative values and Republican values and those types of things, really bring an appropriate context to the whole conservative notion. Mm-hmm. And so we do work with pastors and clergy on those types of topics. And so we've been doing that for the past 7 years here in California, working with communities like that, ethnic communities. This year is just an anomaly. I mean, this has really turned out to be a crazy election year in the sense that we had 17 people on the Republican side, and to me, it almost seems like we've got the worst possible candidate, actually, in my opinion, on both sides. And so, I mean, if I had my druthers, it would be somewhere between Dr. Carson and Rand Paul, that type of candidate. Mm-hmm. And certainly, we're down to the short strokes. We have something far less than that. Mm-hmm. At this point, I'm voting for anybody but Hillary. Mm-hmm. And so that's really my primary motivation. I don't think that we should try to put unindicted criminal felons in office. I think they really need to be in prison. So that's really kind of my primary motivation.
I want to ask you a question, but before that, what was it about Ben Carson or Rand Paul that attracted you? Because what James was saying is that was somebody who was from the outside, right. It was somebody who wasn't with the cronyist kind of, or the ties to the lobbyists. What was it about those two that was attractive to you?
From a Rand Paul perspective, first of all, both of them are personal friends of mine, so yes. I got a little bit of bias there. But from Rand Paul perspective, I like his pro-liberty leanings and that kind of thing. But he has just enough Republicanism in him to be a little bit better, in my opinion, than his father, Ron. But he does have an outsider point of view. He's not a big government, big Washington hack, so to speak.
Right.
And so anybody that's sincere about really trying to do something about the debt and deficits and the size of government and the influence, the overall influence of government in every area of our lives, I'm all in for, and that was Rand. Dr. Carson is the consummate outsider, right? So he comes in from the outside, not a whole lot of experience, but he just seemed to me to be a person that had his wits about him enough that he would be able to delegate appropriately in that office and really do things from an outsider perspective. So I do think that the outsider notion is a good one, and I guess from at least from the Republican point of view, we have an outsider. I mean, he's a political outsider, and so.
But you'd prefer him further outside if you had a choice. Yeah. Which James is smiling at because he'd prefer he was further outside too. But so Kevin made an interesting comment. His is more, I can't vote for Hillary. Are you more pro-Hillary than you are, I just can't vote for Trump? Where do you fall on this part of the discussion?
I'm going to vote for Hillary because she has the most experience, and she's ran for public office before, so she knows the insides of how it works.
Right.
But, I was wanting somebody with less, lobbyist ties,
right.
But I don't think she's, I don't know if you said she was a convict or something? Or was
unindicted criminal felon.
Okay. We've gone over this. They've checked out the FBI's. Nobody's indicted her. She's not been convicted of anything. And, you can say that over and over, but, she's not been convicted of any wrongdoing. So at this point, she's in the election. Trump's in the election. I think she has the most experience, with political office. She'll know what to do when she gets in. Trump has no idea what he's going to do when he gets in.
So, but I do want to. So we're going to bring out Donald's dirt in a minute too. But so from the Democrat side, because on the Republican side, people are really angry about things like the email scandal and about things like Benghazi. Are you seeing much concern on the Democrat side about those issues, or do they just really not?
Well, the funding, we didn't get the funding we couldn't fix Benghazi because the Republicans shut our funding down. They would not allow it. They vote everything down, any kind of funding that the Democrats want, we don't get. So, if we would have had the funding, we may have stopped Benghazi from happening. So,
yeah, it's always interesting for me to hear the different perspectives. I do hear a different one from the other side. And so then the email, so you're thinking that the Benghazi issue is more of a funding issue than anything else, so people aren't going to be as concerned on the Democrat side about Benghazi being a hindrance.
Right. I mean, because Republican administrations have had people die, but Hillary's gotten a lot of flack for, people dying on Benghazi when other people, there's been other embassy killings when Republican administrations have been in. So I don't see how you can say that, oh, she's bad because of that, and then the Republicans aren't.
Okay.
It's got to be even.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so on the email side, you're not seeing any issues either for a major concern for
I have some Democrats that say they're going to vote for Jill Stein. They're going to waste their vote because basically she's only at 2%. There's no way she's going to win this election. Okay. So,
Is she another just forgive me, I only
she's with the Green Party.
Oh, okay.
And this person's a Democrat and is going to support Jill Stein, but she's not going to win. She's only got 2% of the electorate, in the polls, so she's not going to win.
On the Republican side, a lot of people are thinking Gary Johnson for the same thing.
And it's 9%. Their candidate's not going to win, so they're basically going to waste their vote. Yeah.
And so, Kevin, I know that on the Donald Trump side, there's all this stuff recently about him and a discussion he had 10 or 11 years ago, and there have been other unsavory comments that he's been accused of and probably recorded for as well. You do work with clergy and others and people who want to make sure that there's as much integrity and ethics as possible. Yeah. What are you thinking the effect of this recent the most recent skirmishes about Donald Trump and his behaviors and attitudes is going to do? Is it going to help people show up or less? Or
yeah, I think Donald is going to take he took a hit, and I think he'll continue to take a hit on that. It's an 11-year-old, locker room, vile, pathetic discussion. I certainly wouldn't do it. I don't have those kinds of conversations myself, but him being a secular guy, especially 11 years ago, that's just what happens. My thinking about that, though, is we have a guy who's talking trash 11 years ago.
Right.
And today we have a woman that is running against him,
right,
that vehemently stands behind, to this very day, without renouncing one iota of support. She stands behind demonizing these poor women that her husband abused. She stands behind that, demonization and all of that. Number two, she stands behind her laughing mockingly at this 12-year-old girl who she was the attorney for the rapist who raped her and got him off. And she, for her, that's a prize. And so while Donald may have said things that were insensitive, especially to the feminists out there, you have this woman that actually has done acts, specific actions that are anti-feminist, anti-woman, anti-woman support. One last thing I'd like to say about that is she is squarely behind. She says that, this woman was her idol and her role model, and this is Margaret Sanger. Now, Margaret Sanger, everybody knows, was a bigot, racist, by her own admission, because of the things she said, and was a frequent women's KKK speaker. And yet you have people like Hillary who lauds and applauds her. So when I look at Donald Trump talking trash, boy talk, and the actions, the actual effectual actions of this woman against other women, I'm astounded at the hypocrisy. It's astounding. To me, it's still a no-brainer. And as far as the criminality part, no, she hasn't been indicted by the FBI, but the fact is Comey said that she did do some things wrong. The fact is he's a, cowardly in his own right, because he's also a Clinton Foundation, he's on their board, so he has some ties to the Clintons. So for him, it would have been too inconvenient to try to do this in this way. But there was the Espionage Act that was she clearly broke the laws of the Espionage Act, because the Espionage Act didn't go to intent. Comey's rationale for letting her off was, well, she didn't intend to do it, so we're not going to. Well, the Espionage Act is a federal act. It's a federal law. Has nothing to do with intent, and it's real clear. Anything that you do that is reckless, a reckless disregard, or some other word that they use, that whether you intended that somebody else would see, national security emails or classified emails or not, it doesn't matter. You're going to be convicted for it. For each count. I mean, literally, she should be living under the jail for the rest of her life. But
so in order, because we did talk about trying to give equality of time and that kind of thing, what concerns do you have about Trump, whether it's just this scandal, it's others? Are there things that are of particular concern to you as well about Mr. Trump? Hairstyling products aside.
Well, the fact that he's Trump University, which it failed, and all these different capital ventures that he's done that's failed, and he's not paid back vendors that he owes money to. That's, are we going to trust him with our finances and trust him to not create a deficit in this worse than we have now, because because of his undertakings, Trump University and all those different aspects.
Okay. And so are there we'll take it to a more positive side for the candidates that that you'll be kind of coerced into voting for. James, for you, are there particular attributes of Hillary that you can stand behind, or that you are even excited about, or at least you can tolerate?
Well, the fact is, neither candidate that's in right now, the Republicans don't like Trump, and the Democrats are so not gung-ho about Hillary.
Right.
But the fact is, we're either going to have a really, really low turnout, or we're going to have a high turnout because everybody's going to want to try to knock off the other person because they don't want to see them get in.
Voting against as opposed to for something.
Exactly.
Right.
So,
but are there attributes that that you do?
Experience is the most important thing to me.
Okay.
She's going to go in knowing how to get off the ground, and her administration's going to be set up right away.
Okay.
Trump has no experience in political life. He's never even ran for mayor of a town or city council or anything, so he has no political experience whatsoever.
Okay. I would argue that he has political experience, but it's kind of on the machinery side and buying the politicians. But that's something that's because one of the things that was interesting to me during the whole debate process is that people say, well, he's an outsider. It's like he's bought the politicians, including Hillary. So, one of the things that I think America is wondering is like, okay, the media is trying to paint them as extremely divergent, but he's actually supported her in the past, financially and otherwise.
I mean, it's been on tape that he supported her, that he said she would make a great president, and Trump's even said that on tape. So
yeah. Nice endorsement, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was before, but now it's... But how long ago was that?
I don't know exactly.
Less than 11 years? I'm just checking.
Yeah.
Because
it's out there. I mean,
no, I do know it's out there, and that was one of the things that we were scratching our heads about from the very beginning, because I think on the conservative or Republican side, and they're not always the same thing by any stretch of the imagination, people didn't take him seriously in the first place or think that he would get that far, so they didn't pay attention, and next thing they're going, whoa, wait a minute, what happened? This is real now.
Well, the anti-Republicans that were trying to get rid of him because they didn't want him at all, they failed to do it in time. And they,
Are there any particular aspects of him that you do think are...
Yeah, I do like the fact that he's an outsider. I do like the fact that he's not bought off by Wall Street. I mean, Wall Street has invested somewhere around $25 million in the Hillary Clinton campaign, and I think they've donated less than $1 million to his. It was $815,000 or something like that last week.
Right.
So there's a huge disparity as to Wall Street globalists. The globalists are all the New World Order, NWO globalist movement is all over the Hillary Clinton thing, and so she's all in with, the environmental, stuff and globalism and all of this kind of stuff. And Trump is, certainly the outsider when it comes to that.
Right.
So that's from an international perspective. I think that's a positive. I don't think that because it's so interesting. We say it's really important that people have this certain amount of experience in politics.
Sure.
We're about $223 trillion in debt with professional politicians. Hello, somebody. I think you and I can go and run Washington better than these clowns.
Let's talk about that again in a few years.
But a lot of it was because of the wars that we had to pay for, the deficit down on the wars.
Well, there are a lot of different factors that are involved in that. And since we've got less than 5 minutes to go, John, saying.
I mean, I just want to wrap up on what I think is positive about Trump, though. But the whole point is that I think a lot of people try to put too much credence behind this whole political experience thing when look at the shape that we're in. Look at the shape that we're in.
Right.
It's clearly a farce. But what I do like about Trump is he's big on school choice. He's big on life. He believes life begins at conception. That's important. That's important for people of faith. It's important for Catholics. He's big on taking care of our national security, national borders. Hillary, on the contrary, says, look, we can invite 1 million more unvetted, potentially radical Islamics, Muslims here. ISIS already said they're coming in this way, right? And for Trump, that's suicide. Why would you do that? So those types of distinctions are what I really like and appreciate about him.
So, because we're limited on time, and this is going to have to be a shorter answer, are there any particular glaring weaknesses that you see on for the opposite candidate, as far as, you know, is foreign policy or monetary policy or anything else a potential deal breaker for the other side, or do you see a particular strength in a specific set of policies for the candidate that you're going to be forced to vote for?
I think Hillary is going to continue Barack Obama's. You know, we got us this housing crisis. The whole entire government was going to shut down because of what happened with the deregulation, and all of a sudden we took over and we got us back to where we are today. And the economy's been one of the best economies. You can't say that our economy hasn't grown under Barack Obama. Hillary will continue this. Okay. She'll continue to make the economy grow, and you know, you can't say the economy has not grown. It's grown under Barack Obama administration.
Okay. And so, go ahead and answer the question.
So I'll answer the question. But, you know, the economy has grown, but this is the weakest, most anemic economic growth post-recession of any of the recessions in the history since we've been tracking it. So, yeah, the economy's grown, but it's been very, very anemic. But
I disagree.
Well, I mean, this is just what fact. You can go to GAO and you'll see the stats. But on the other thing of what I do think that the other side, we said the weakness for the other side. So the weakness I think that we would inherit with Hillary Clinton presidency is the fact that she owes a lot of these people who have hacked into her servers or private servers in her bathrooms. And a lot of these foreign bad actors she's in cahoots with via either the Clinton Foundation or they've gotten some intelligence. And we are going to have to suffer because of her, because of her trying to skirt, federal laws and doing what she did. So I think that that's a really, really big issue from a national security and just standing from an American's perspective.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate both of you sharing candidly kind of what your thoughts are in your areas of concern for the other candidates, et cetera. I appreciate you being on the show, and good luck with the depression that follows regardless of what happens. If you guys will hold on for just a moment, we'll be back after a word from our underwriters, the Conservative Forum.
All right.
Some people think that a meeting of conservatives in Silicon Valley could fit in a small room. In fact, when the Conservative Forum was founded in 2003, we did meet in a small room, a coffee shop in San Jose. It doesn't get more grassroots than this. It may surprise you that there are thousands of people right here in Silicon Valley who share your principles of liberty, free markets, and limited government. Since our humble beginnings in that coffee shop, we've outgrown 3 meeting halls. From San Jose to Gilroy to Mill Valley, we bring hundreds of people together each month from all over the Bay Area to promote the principles of American liberty. How do we do it? It starts with a stellar lineup of speakers. Speakers like Steve Forbes, Senator Jim DeMint, Dr. Victor Davis Hanson, Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, Andrew Breitbart, Pamela Geller, and many others. These speakers passionately articulate our shared principles and remind us why conservatism isn't just the smart choice, it's also the moral choice. Our monthly meetings are only one dimension of the forum. We underwrite The Right Side, a monthly television show on cable access channel KMVT. We also host a monthly Constitution discussion group and provide tables at our meetings for more than a dozen local groups who share our love of liberty to promote their specific cause. The Conservative Forum is the premier place in Silicon Valley for conservatives to gather, become invigorated, motivated, and empowered. We welcome guests to our monthly meetings and offer special discounted pricing to first-time visitors. Take a look at our speaker lineup in the coming months and join us to learn why we say liberty is made in America.
And that was a word from our underwriters, the Conservative Forum. and we appreciate them tremendously for underwriting the show for now. It's been just almost 5 seasons in total. But what they're best known for is for their speaker series. And that occurs typically at IFES Portuguese Hall at 432 Stearland Road here in Mountain View, California, about 3 minutes from here, typically on the second Tuesday of each month around 7 o'clock. This month it's changed, however, and it will happen on the third Tuesday of the month. And this guest this time will be Dinesh D'Souza. He's a renowned political commentator, author, filmmaker, and Christian apologist. In November, Charlie Self. He's an inspirational speaker and a frequent guest as Dr. History on the KSFO 560 AM talk radio show in the San Francisco Bay Area, and has actually been a guest on our show here in the past. In December, Nick Adams. He's the founder and executive director of the Foundation for Liberty and American Greatness, and that's an organization that's dedicated to promoting American exceptionalism and combating anti-Americanism worldwide. For more information, you can go to theconservativeforum.com and learn more about the upcoming programs and guests that might be applicable to you and your interest. But in closing this evening, I just want to encourage you, this is a chaotic election cycle. There's going to be heated debate on both sides. People aren't going to be happy on either side. But I would encourage you to just do your research. There might have been things on the show you agreed with that you heard this evening, or things that you violently disagree with. Validate. Check different news sources, even from opposite sides of the political spectrum from where you normally hang out, and you may find that truths may be revealed that are new to you, or you may find out that, as you assumed previously, that person was full of crap. But and just one final note, this is October. You might have noticed the pink tie, which doesn't normally show up on the right side, but we do want to just put a shot of recognition out for those that are recognizing breast cancer awareness this month, and do look into finding ways to support that cause as well, because it does affect all of us, either directly or through people that we know and are close to. So on that note, we appreciate you joining us this evening on the right side. I'm your host, Chris Pareja, and if you have questions or comments and would like to send those to us, you can do it at therightsidetv@gmail.com, or we'll look forward to seeing you in person or on the show sometime soon. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.